Hi everyone, I thought I would do a video today discussing why I believe that if you are planning on getting prepared for any kind of apocalypse, example, the zombie apocalypse, which is the subject matter of this channel, that if you're hoping to survive said zombie apocalypse, you should, in my opinion, to better your odds, learn about wild edibles. Consequently, how to sustain yourself off of what can be found in nature. Example. Now, this is not what I recommend as a first resort, but I think it's something people should invest some time in all the same. Obviously, the first resort for a zombie apocalypse in terms of food supply would be stuff that you have stockpiled ahead of time, as opposed to going out and trying to find food. Much better to have it and know you have it and not have to risk your life to go get it. And along with your stockpile, a way to renew those food resources is also very important, which a lot of people in the prepper community will agree with me on. And of course, we're talking the apocalypse. If you survive the apocalypse and have to rebuild humanity, I don't think you're ever going to be stockpiling enough food to last civilization indefinitely. So you need to be able to replace those stockpiles. Most people go with agriculture. Now, I'm not saying against agriculture. By all means, learn how to grow food. In fact, that is something I also recommend. However, I want to have the final backup being the ability to feed myself from what I find out in nature. And I will post up a video on finding caloric staples and what to look for caloric staples, which is the most important part of trying to learn how to sustainably feed yourself from what you can find out in nature. It is a video from my main channel. I will be making a little introduction for it and reposting it on this channel as well, because I failed to see how I could possibly present the information in that previously filmed video any better. Okay, so wild edibles. When the zombie apocalypse happens, and there's massive WROL, you're going to be competing with everybody else. Everybody else is going to probably try and raid the supermarkets, and the supplies of the supermarkets will not last very long. In fact, if you look at when a natural disaster happens, stores are emptied very quickly, as most supermarkets only have a 3 to 5 day supply on their shelves without any kind of stockpile to back it up, and everybody's going to go for it. Now, everybody knows that a can of baked beans is food, but not everybody knows about wild edibles. And Australian history, mainly the exploration of Australia, is filled with stories of people who starved to death surrounded by more food than they could possibly eat because they could not identify it. Now, some of you may notice right behind me is a stand of cat's tails. Now, I'm not going to be teaching any of you how to identify, process, or eat cat's tails. And I do not teach wild edibles. I will only discuss certain things for you to go and do your own research on. So you do not eat anything based solely on what you see on this channel. Purely because I do not want that responsibility, because let's face it, there are some really stupid people out there. I'm not saying that you as an individual is a stupid person, but you know, there's no telling who's going to watch this video, so, or any of my videos. So I'm not teaching anything because I don't want people to get it wrong based on what they see in my videos. Go learn wild edibles, but learn it from someone else. Learn it from someone who knows what they're talking about and is qualified. But, for the sake of argument, there's a big stand of cat's tails behind me. Yeah, that is a pretty decent supply of food for the short term, and that's just within sight. There's mangroves right there and going all the way up the coast. full of so much shellfish that, yeah, I'm not gonna starve because I know what's out here. I know what's edible. And I am constantly studying to improve my abilities to be able to hopefully sustain myself off of just what is out in nature. And wild edibles like this have several advantages for a WRL zombie apocalypse type situation, in that not everybody knows how to identify them. Cat's tails, or as we call them here in Australia, bulrush, is one of the more well-known food sources, but there are many others. And while the general public knows what corn looks like and knows what other crops look like and will devour them on sight, not everybody knows that what is standing behind me is edible. So many people will just walk right past it, leaving it for me. Now, that is kind of sad, honestly, because I would rather people live. The more people survive the zombie apocalypse, the better, in my opinion. So, supplies of wild edibles are less likely to be raided and depleted quickly by the general public. And let's face it, population densities of most towns are way too high to be sustained by the wild edible resources within walking distance of them. That said, where I live, there are a lot of food resources within walking distance of my house. But most people would not be able to identify them, except for meat resources. Now, you are going to want to learn how to harvest meat resources, such as by trapping, hunting, fishing. You're going to want to learn how to do that because you need protein to live, and you need the fats to live. However, many hunter-gatherer societies pulled in the majority of their calories from gathering, as opposed to hunting and trapping and fishing. Though there are many, numerous exceptions to this. But the general public is not going to be able to identify and harvest food, so it will still be in the environment for the most part. On top of this, it is self-renewing, as long as you do not deplete it too badly. There's enough wild edibles out here that I am pretty certain I could survive out here on wild food if I wanted to, as well as the fact that I don't have to raise wild edibles as opposed to farming. I don't have to plant the seeds, I don't have to put on fertilizer, I don't have to do pest control, I don't have to till the soil, I don't have to do anything. I just have to harvest it. And it will renew itself for me, which is a massive advantage. On top of the fact that most people can't identify it. For example, if we had a row of corn right over there, and a row of cattails right over there, and someone was to come along in a zombie apocalypse or WRL situation, they'll see the corn, they'll know what it is, they'll take it, they'll eat it, most likely. But if they don't know that the wild edibles right next to it are edible, they're less likely to take them, leaving more for me and people who can identify it. And of course, having the ability to walk out into a landscape and come back with lots of food is a valuable skill. And for people putting together a zombie team, having someone who can identify caloric staples in your area and find large amounts of wild edibles, that is definitely a good skill, because that reduces the chances of you starving to death. But I will have to discuss caloric staples in their own video, as well as I may possibly give several examples of wild edibles to help you guys along. So that information is already out on my main channel, which is No BS Survival. Everyone, hope you have a good one. See you, stay safe, and I hope you are preparing for the zombie apocalypse.